our residents to be part of the solution. And included in here is the Crime Stoppers information. And if you know that there are illegal fireworks in your home, you can call this number anonymously. The police will come or the fire department will come. We will pick them up, no questions asked. So we want for our residents to have a way, if they come across these in their home, if they have a child who has gotten possession of these and they're trying to figure out how to get rid of them, just call us. We just want them off the streets. We want to make sure that we're keeping people safe. We want to make sure that we're keeping our community safe. And so we're going to be asking our neighborhood associations to help distribute this information throughout the city. And anyone from the community, I know some of our county legislatures have already said, sign me up. Anyone else who's interested in helping us distribute these within the city of Albany, we want to get the word out. We want for people to be safe. We want for our community to have peace and quiet, and for us to be able to get through the 4th of July without any sort of catastrophic injury, fire, or worse. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we'd like to have up Albany Fire Chief Joseph Gregory.
Good morning. On behalf of the Albany Fire Department, we would like to first applaud the county for this legislation. The Albany Fire Department does not condone the use of any fireworks by the general public because fireworks are extremely dangerous. Only trained professionals in a controlled setting should be using the fireworks. From the Albany Fire Department perspective, our workload increases substantially around the July 4th holiday. Fireworks are found to be the cause of approximately 20,000 fires nationally, including around 2,000 structure fires. Each year around July 4th holiday, thousands of people, most often children and young adults, are seriously injured using fireworks. Children ages 10 to 14 have the highest rate of injuries from fireworks. The use of consumer fireworks can lead to devastating burns, other injuries, fires, and even death. Even sparklers can burn at close to 2,000 degrees. Burn injuries account for about 44% of the injuries treated in emergency rooms seen in the days and weeks around the July 4th holiday. So we at the Albany Fire Department hope everyone does enjoy this holiday, but we just ask that everyone does it safely and responsibly. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. As a perspective from a Iraq and Afghanistan veteran, I mean, we live out near the training academy up off New Scotland Road, and we can hear the pops and the fireworks going off in the city and elsewhere. And having been woken up by mortars nearly every morning at Baghdad International Airport for a year, I'm not ashamed to admit that it does bring you back a little bit. I enjoy fireworks as much as the next person, but when you're not expecting it, it does take you to a place, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. But to speak to that experience and to that effect that it does have on the veteran community, I'd like to call up Dr. Jerry Lattiser, who's a psychologist and deacon at the Albany Stratton VA Medical Center.
Thanks, Andy. Just a clarification, I'm not a psychologist at the VA. I'm a chaplain there, but I am a psychologist. I do it in other areas. Thank you for allowing me to speak, to talk about two important issues for me, and I hope they're important for you. And those things are vets and pets. Just how many people have a pet? How many of you have a pet that is affected by fireworks? Quite a few, quite a few. Well, I'm not a veterinarian, but I'm going to talk about pets also, because the same part of the brain that responds to fireworks is the same in both humans and our furry little friends. It all occurs in the limbic system, what we call the lower brain, the old brain. It's in the limbic system that we find cortisol. It's a stress hormone that's released when we're under stress. Like when Andrew said, when fireworks go off when we're not expecting it. In terms of pets, they're in a house and they got nowhere to escape to. And it's in the limbic system that we have the fight or flight response. So when a pet hears fireworks, their immediate response is to flee. But they can't. They're in a house or maybe a yard, but they're trapped. And so the brain releases more cortisol to deal with the stress. And the pet cannot deal with it, so it acts out. This is why many of you might have pets that try to dig their way into the floor, tear up your carpet. They're trying to dig a hole. They got that flight response. They might tear up your furniture. Same reason. I have 2 dogs. I have my oldest is a greyhound named Dolly. When she hears fireworks, she eliminates her bowel and her bladder all over the house, and she's terrified. I have to dope my dogs up every night because you have fireworks in our neighborhood. Now, if I were to do that on my own, Sheriff, if I were somehow to terrorize my dog in such a way that she lost control of her bowels, I believe I'd be cited for that. It's the same with fireworks. You're terrorizing the pets in your neighborhood. You're committing what I think is animal abuse. And in terms of veterans, I've worked with veterans for over 20 years in 2 different hospitals, hospice, home care, private sector for the Albany Diocese. Probably hundreds and hundreds of vets with post-traumatic stress disorder, maybe in the thousands, I don't know. Now, my experience is anecdotal, it's not scientific, but for those hundreds of vets that I've dealt with, they all have problems with fireworks, all of them. But don't take my word for it, you've got scientific studies. The Center for Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder is an organization run by the Veterans Administration. There's a lot of different research done on that with PTSD, but in particular, how fireworks affect veterans. Outside agencies have done this too. The University of Michigan Department of Psychiatry has done a lot of research on post-traumatic stress disorder across the spectrum, not just veterans, but anyone with PTSD, anyone who has experienced a trauma. And they have a report out on fireworks, and they say that anyone who's experienced a trauma can have a devastating reaction to fireworks. And of all people, the Marine Corps. I was a Marine, I hate to say this, before most of you were born, 50 years. Back then, post-traumatic stress disorder wasn't even a disease. It wasn't a disease until the 1980s in the DSM. Back then, we called it combat fatigue. But in the Marines, we were told, we don't get combat fatigue. We give the other guy combat fatigue. But you know what? This type of bravado just made it worse for those suffering. They just repressed their feelings. They held it in. And today we see what's going on with our Vietnam veterans who have latent post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of problems that they're trying to deal with now. But even the Marine Corps has come out with a report to help Marines on the 4th of July deal with the effects of fireworks. So if the Marine Corps is on board, everybody is on board. Now I get it. We had a revolution, right? The revolution was about protesting authority. So there's some that are going to say, I'm going to light off fireworks anyway. It's my form of protest. That's fine. It's a free country. The sheriffs might find you, they might not. But remember, freedom also comes with responsibility. Not just the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to do what you ought. And when you set off fireworks in your neighborhood, you're affecting vets and pets. You may think that you are celebrating your freedom, but you are disrespecting every veteran that fought for that freedom. So just simply be kind, be considerate to the people around you that might be suffering, your vets and your pets. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lattiser. Anyone else wanted to speak? That's all we had for our formal program this morning, if anybody has any questions.
This is a question. Where do you think most of the illegal fireworks are coming from? And then what is the punishment, the fines involved for setting off illegal fireworks?
I think the mayor had a conversation with some 3-letter agencies. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit better.
Look, the short answer is from multiple places. We have asked them to redouble their efforts to determine whether there is a concerted and organized way that these fireworks are getting here, or if what is happening is that groups are pooling their money and somebody's going to Pennsylvania and buying these fireworks and bringing them back. That's the challenge with this, is that most of the fireworks that are being set off here are legal somewhere. They're just not legal here. We also are hearing that there are some fireworks that we believe are being made in neighboring counties and brought into our county. So the answer is there are multiple sources, and yes, there are violations of our criminal code. There are legal consequences, but the challenge is finding people, right? So these fireworks go off, you know, the people call 911, they call the sheriff, whatever jurisdiction they're in, and by the time we arrive, the perpetrators are long gone. So it is a very challenging thing for us to be able to police while it's happening, which is why the third part of the 3 steps that we're taking is to look to those federal and state agencies to help us interdict and seize these fireworks before they make it onto our streets.
Mayor, what other counties are they coming from?
You know, it's anecdotal, and so, but I know what I've been told. I've been told that there are fireworks being made in Columbia County and in other places that, you know, that are more homemade. Those are the scariest. But these devices are scary devices. They are, they're loud, they're professional, they are meant and designed to be fired by people who know what they're doing, not teenage kids or, you know, what I've seen in my neighborhood, even, you know, grown adults setting them off and having a good time, but, you know, they're incredibly dangerous.
And again, just to drive the point home, for our part in the Albany County Legislature, we're going to opt out of Local Law A for 2016, which legalized these quote-unquote sparklers that you see here. And I think a key first step is to get these off the street, get them off the shelves, so law enforcement, when they respond to nuisance calls, can better identify what's illegal, what's not illegal. So we hope to do that in July.
You were saying in the beginning, you know, when you think of a sparkler, you think of the little thing on a stick. How are these considered in that category?
Now, I'm not a pyrotechnics expert, but if I'm told, if you go to the store and buy one of these and you light the wick, it'll shoot sparks out into the air very high, and there's little mortars inside that go off and shoot in the air and they pop. Some of them are not loud, some of them are loud, but technically they are sparklers, but they're not rockets or mortars or anything along those lines.
Last thing for me is just, it seems like there has been more this year. Is there a correlation with, we've seen a little uptick in crime? Does that kind of play into this too, of maybe police not being as on the streets as much, and so people feel like they can let things off more, or?
Well, I just, in my opinion, I feel like the police are inundated with it because we do have these legalized sparklers, and it's impossible for them to discern between what's illegal and what isn't.